Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I purposely made up or created a character, Electra Heart, to I suppose act out the songs through. And after that album was done, after I'd done all of my videos and released my singles, that was the end for me. So I actually moved on quite a long time ago from Electra Heart, and I started writing Fruit in 2012. So it's been a long time in in creating it. Yeah, definitely. As a songwriter primarily, because the way in which I wrote Electra Heart informed how I would go on to write Fruit. For example, with Electra Heart, I co-wrote with a lot of people, which was very new for me, and saw what their process was, and also how it affected me, because I noticed that when I was writing with other people, with pop producers, I would be writing in a different way melodically, and it frustrated me that I couldn't do that on my own. So I analysed how I was writing and found out what was different, and it was that they were giving me instrumentals or beats to write to. And so I thought, well, I can write my own beats. So I started doing that at home, and then I went on to write the entire record alone for Fruit. So that was a major shift and a major learning curve for me. I think I'm just confident as an artist now, whereas before I very much needed praise and approval from public or whoever I was working with. Whereas now it's much more focused on the idea that you write to express something, and that's where it ends. It's not about, chart positions or your record label or touring or any of that, actually. It's like, well, why are you doing this? Because if you don't know why you're doing it, then you shouldn't be doing it. I mean, I don't know if I'm better at songwriting, but I definitely... it comes with the territory that on your third album you have more in-depth knowledge of it and you find different ways to write. So it was more that I was writing songs very effortlessly and it felt very fun. So there wasn't a particular moment at home. It was more just realising that instead of always being at the piano and simultaneously writing the chords, the melody and the lyrics, I actually started just to make the music on its own, and then I would do the melody and the lyrics on top of it. Very late, actually. Fruit, the song, was one of the last that I wrote, and I was trying to think of a title for my album, and I wanted it to be named after one of the songs on the record, and Fruit was the one that fit most in terms of how I was feeling and how I kind of... what I wanted this album to symbolise, which is growth, I suppose, and feeling fully realised as a person, as an artist. So it's kind of, it's the life cycle of a fruit is, and it can be applied to anything. You sow a seed, a tree grows, bears fruit, it rots, goes back into the ground. So I like that. What is it about? It's the same sentiment, really, as what I was talking about for the album title. I think it's about feeling ready to be happy and ready to love somebody. Kind of, it's a very positive song. It's about La Dolce Vita, so living the best life that you can, which might sound a bit cheesy, but it's a sentiment that I haven't communicated before in my work, and that I certainly never felt before. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why I was sad, because I never expressed it. So it's like people who are happy all the time, there's usually something, there's like a reason for that. Whereas now I feel a lot more measured as a person. It's almost like doing an impression of someone who's happy. So obviously my work really contrasts to that, because it was filled with lyrics that were not reflective of how I was, in public. But now I feel like with this album I've definitely explored another part of me, and that's just because I feel different now. So I think after Electra Heart, I was really ready for a big change. Yeah, and I don't really know the answer. I think, yeah, it's very hard to change. Human beings are, your mind is the hardest thing to change, really. But I think, I think when you're frustrated or not happy for a very long time, you kind of come to a certain point and I think you just look at your life and see what's causing you to not be content, or what's lacking in you. So it could be something like people you're hanging around with, maybe they don't reflect who you are as a person, or it could be something to do with your job. For me, part of it was how I felt as an artist. I didn't really feel like people really knew who I was, and I think on the first album that was a really good little opener into it, but I think because I had this kind of like pop edge, I felt like I was always expected to go into that, and really I didn't really like believe that I was a pop star. And then Electra Heart was kind of like me going, I will try to be one. And now it's just settling into what I am, whatever that is. Yeah, can do if it's not 100% right for you, yes. But don't know what pop music is, it's whatever people like at the time. Yeah, I really like to provide a package for whatever I'm giving people, or kind of a world that you can encapsulate yourself in. So for Fruit, after I decided, that was going to be what the album was called, my manager and I were discussing how we would like to release the record. And she said to me, I think with the type of fan base that you have, which is very tight-knit and loyal, you can afford to do something different. And so at first I thought of releasing 2 songs a month over 6 months. And then we kind of decided that wouldn't work, and so we would do this one song a month thing, and even the Fruit of the Month concept, I actually didn't name it until like the last week. But I just thought it would be a good way for me to release the tracks that I wanted people to hear first, without any commercial pressures. B, do it in a fun way, and C, be able to create this kind of visual-centered world for fans to indulge themselves in. So it was just something that suited me as an artist at this time in my career, and it's proving to be pretty good. Yeah, it's working out well. It was all on purpose. Even just with the gradient, so you've got the 6 colours of the campaign, those are the 6 fruits. So each colour represents a different fruit. I guess in my visuals, yeah, I definitely have that popular culture element. I love it. Yeah, I think that's to do with the fact that I'm 29, so I feel a bit different. Also, I feel like Electra Heart was getting out my kind of final teenage feelings. It was like the last hurrah of being young, in that sense. Whereas now, I am a 29-year-old woman, so I kind of want to dress differently to suit how I feel inside. Yes, for sure. I really like women who are uncompromising and unique. So Fiona Apple, PJ Harvey, Brody Dahl, Shirley Manson, they all have this kind of, I don't know, what's the word? I guess they have a kind of grace about themselves. It's very empowering. I think they're really empowering women. And most importantly, I just love the music that they make. So for Brody Dahl, it sounds like a weird choice, because it's like punk rock. But the album that got me into it was called Coral Fang, and the melodies in that are actually insane. They're incredible. It's one of my favourite albums ever. And when I just heard her voice for the first time, it really changed how I kind of looked at the female voice, because up until then I was just like, oh, you know, you have to be technically perfect to be a singer, and it didn't make me feel very confident because I wasn't technically perfect. Whereas Brody came along and I was like, wow, I just felt blown away. I think they kind of touch on the very core of our nature, and both songs, actually, both subject matters aren't things that we particularly like to explore or acknowledge because they're true and they're difficult themes. But they're both really important songs to me, and so far, obviously, only Immortal is that, but it seems like people really connected heavily with that song. Whereas with Savages, it's an uncomfortable song, but I'm very excited for people to hear it. No, actually. It's other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was you when you were a little child.
Yeah, no, a lot of people do.
Okay.
No, it's good. I wish it was. I wish I did have that kind of footage from when I was a kid. But I kind of liked it more, though, that it was other people's stories and footage and lives. You know? It was very moving to see it, actually. Not anymore, perhaps because I wrote that song and then I kind of cleared my feelings for it. However, I do, part of what I do as an artist is I observe other people, and so I feel that, it's one of the traits of human behaviour that we instinctively want to leave something behind, whether that's, in the form of DNA, like kids, or whether that's creating something. Even if you look at crappy graffiti on the walls, that, people just want to make their mark in whatever way that they can, whether it's crude or very artistic. So it was drawing on that idea, but also drawing on the idea that, you can have anything in this world. You can be a billionaire, you can have 10 houses, 10 cars, but it doesn't really matter, because when you die, what you're leaving behind isn't, it's not a material thing. It's more about what you have given people emotionally, and your memories. That's the only thing that we actually own. So that's kind of when I started to write the song, when I was thinking about things like that. There is, actually, because when Hollywood came out, my first album, it really blew up here, and it was a very exciting time for me. So I've toured quite a lot here, but it's made me sad that I haven't come back for so long. It's been 2 years, I think. I hope it's not been more than that. But yeah, about around 2 years. So I have very fond memories from it, so I'm ready to create some more here. It was a very exciting time. I kind of couldn't believe that things were happening outside of the UK. So when I came here, I remember my first promo trip, I was just, every time I switched on the TV, I was on it, on some kind of pop channel. So it was very exciting. Which one would I be? Which one would I be? Today I'd be a mango.
Why?
I feel tropical.
Okay.
What would you be?
I would like to be, I think, a pineapple.
Pineapple?
Because my girlfriend loves it. Wow.
I think the kind of connection that people have when they hear something that they've been thinking about that they really relate to is so powerful. Actually, I was talking to my manager about this last night, that there were several artists in my life that did that, and it kind of, on one hand, each time I write an album, I am chronicling or documenting my life, whereas for the listener, that's part of their life and whatever they're going through at the time. So I think with this kind of album, it's much more of a, thoughtful album, in that people might not be dancing to it in the club, but hopefully it means something to them in relation to their own experiences and their, thoughts, fears, dreams. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but... Yeah, I think so. I mean, I have a whole new visual concept for it. It's probably going to be sounding a little bit more like a band because that's how the record sounds. But I'm quite looking forward to playing the old stuff as well and incorporating that into what I'm doing. So it's going to be very visual, very, very visual. Yeah, I wanted to start really, really minimal. So that you have to have your ear kind of tuned into it immediately. Yeah, it was completely on purpose. Neither really. I mean, we approach each song, differently. It's like each song's a completely different little world of its own, has its own character. But with songs like Happy, they really didn't need much. There aren't many songs that are that stripped back, though. I guess maybe some of them start that way, but then they eventually go into something. Like Immortal's quite a textured, layered track, but it sounds quite minimalistic. I wrote Gold in Magdeburg, and I believe that I wrote a bit of Happy here as well, because it was... It must have been a winter tour, November tour, I think, November 2012. In Magdeburg, it was, we were staying in, that was summertime, I was supporting Coldplay, so it was an off day, a break day, and we were staying in this really amazing kind of countryside hotel. So yeah, I was writing it in a hotel room, but it was lovely, a very traditional hotel.